Today, what we have in our book excerpt is something interesting. It comes from the second edition of 40k, from the Codex, Angels of Death. And that is, of course, the coming of Sanguinius. It happened that after the Emperor created the Primarchs, the infants were stolen from the chamber in which they lay. The forces of chaos made off with the infants and carried them through the warp. Unable to destroy the infants because of the powerful protections laid on them by the Emperor, the demonic powers of the warp nonetheless did their best to alter and mold the Emperor's work to their own evil ends. Thus it was that even the best of the Emperor's creation became corrupt at the outset. The pod that housed the infant Sanguinius came to rest upon the surface of Baal Secundus, at the place now known as the Angel's Fall. The infant Primarch was found by one of the wandering tribes of humans, who called themselves the folks of pure blood, or simply the blood. The young Sanguinius' life almost came to an end then and there, for the touch of chaos had changed him. Tiny vestigial wings like those of an angel emerged from his back. Many wanted to kill the child as a mutant, while others wanted to spare the boy, for in all other ways he was as perfect a child as had ever been seen. Eventually, common humanity prevailed and the child was spared. The infant Sanguinius grew quickly and learned everything his parents could teach him. After 3 weeks, he was as large as a child of 3 years and could walk. It is said that at this age, he slew a giant fire scorpion with his bare hands. As Sanguinius grew, his wings grew also, changing from tiny vestigial things into mighty pinions that could bear him afloat onto the desert air. By the time he was 1 year old, he looked and acted like a man in his youthful prime. He could walk without a rat suit in the poison desert, and could shatter mighty boulders with a single blow of his outstretched hand. In the use of all weapons, he soon excelled his teachers. And this part is a little bit blurry. When a wandering band of mutants surprised the tribe, Sanguinius slew them all, although they numbered over 100. This was the first time the members of the Blood had ever seen him truly angry, for he felt his comrades' lives were in danger. When the blood rage overtook him, Sanguinius was indeed terrible to behold. His full Primarch powers came upon him, and a nimbus of light played about his head. They were playing with the more angelic images of him. Sanguinius distinguished himself in the fateful days and years that followed. He soon rose to leadership of the Blood, and under his guidance they rolled back the mutant tide. For a time, mankind had a breathing space on the moon called Baal Secundus. Sanguinius was worshipped as a god by his followers. They felt that if they followed him, they could once more create a paradise in their dreadful land. It was shortly thereafter that fate intervened once more. The Emperor had been questing across the galaxy in search of his lost children, and his incredible psychic powers led him to Baal. His ship landed at the conclave of the Blood, and he walked straight to the home vehicle of Sanguinius. Other among the Primarchs are said to have fought against the Emperor when first they met, but this was not the case with Sanguinius. He immediately recognized the Emperor for who he was, and bent his knee before the Lord of mankind. The Emperor raised him up and looked upon his people, and saw that they were fair and noble, the best of the warriors he offered to raise up into Space Marines. The others were to be honorably left behind to defend mankind's birthplace upon Baal Secundus. The Emperor performed a complex operation that would extract the gene seed from Sanguinius' genetic code, and he implanted 10,000 warriors with it. Thus were born the Blood Angels, among the chapters of the first founding. They joined the Emperor's fleet and sailed across the Sea of Stars to participate in the Great Crusade. Now, as you can see from this, it is a little bit different from what we now have in canon. It is more evolved and more in depth. What we have is really more in depth about Sanguinius and his life. It's also interesting that they've made this change in 2nd edition, which, they were still playing around with the lore and trying to make something stable, that the legions, the Space Marines, still existed when the Primarchs were found, which is a pretty good concept, and I think it works better than just making them on the spot when the Emperor found, the Primarchs, to just make their legion right there. Or in this case, as refers to them, chapter, which is also interesting. Yes, I am now acting upon my old hammer cravings with this. You will have to suffer with me. But I am not the antediluvian Witch King for nothing, because we have lore and knowledge from before the flood. Or, it's modern 40k, but it doesn't matter. It's good nonetheless. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one.